Good morning. You're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Danny Laurel. It's the start of a new trading week. Let's kick off with our banner story. Economic managers may consider a third stimulus package. That's after Fitch Ratings lowered its outlook on the Philippines to negative from stable. Budget Secretary Wendell Avisado said the Development Budget Coordination Committee, or the DBCC, will meet later today, where the Bayanihan 3 or the Bayanihan to Arise as One Act could be discussed. NEDA Chief Carl Kendrick Chua said there are Bayanihan 3 provisions that may be considered given that there are available funds for it. Now, one of the bill's proponents, Marikina Representative Stella Kimbo, said the passage of a third stimulus and relief measure may convince the credit raters that the Philippines will be able to survive the impact of the health through well-targeted spending. She said Bayanihan 3 lays out a well-detailed spending plan that will ensure that public funds are used productively. But for Bangko Sentral Governor Ben Diokno, a third stimulus measure may not help improve the country's rating outlook at all. Diokno said there was a sea of ratings downgrades across the globe last year, and Fitch's affirmation of Philippines' investment grade this year should be seen in a positive light. Diokno said what is crucial is the government's vaccine drive, structural reforms, and infrastructure projects. He said the rationale for Bayanihan 3 may fade with the submission of next year's president's budget by at least next month. The lower house has already passed the Bayanihan 3 that's worth 401 billion pesos. However, its counterpart measure remains pending at the Senate committee level. Now, the Philippine Competition Commission is now gathering more evidence as it probes specific entities that could have had a hand in last month's rotating brownouts. The Philippine Star reports that the antitrust body is closely working with the Energy Regulatory Commission and the Energy Department for the palace-mandated investigation. Recall that the Luzon grid lost as much as 4,000 megawatts in supply as some power plants extended their outage while some went on a forced outage. This led to the several instances of triggering the secondary price cap in the wholesale electricity spot market. Now, for its part, the Philippine Rural Electricity Cooperatives Association, or PhilReca, said electricity rates rose in June due to supply issues and not because the cooperatives failed to procure power through competitive bidding. The group added that they cannot simply purchase or enter into contracts that will result to more of what consumers need, as it would result in higher power prices. This after advocacy groups called on electric cooperatives to enter into power supply agreements with GenCos following the recent surge in WESM prices. Kicking off the markets report this Monday morning with a look at the global equities. You can see on my terminal here quite a sea of red, particularly over in Wall Street and spilling over into Europe. This was last Friday. This, of course, amid all these fresh virus concerns. The S&P 500 fell. That was for the first week in 4 weeks. And the global equity rally has now paused. Now, this from Shane Oliver. He's the head of investment strategy and chief economist at ANP Capital. He said shares are at a high risk of seeing more weakness in the short term. That's as the coronavirus cases rise, but also the inflation scare continues and central banks are becoming less and less dovish. Let's open up with Asia Pac here and see how those markets are opening. It does seem to be following the rest of the world's slide from last week that seems to be continuing. Taiwan's TAIEX down by 0.6%. The Nikkei 225 as well, moving in a downward direction, down by 1.2% already. Now recall that there are more than 55 cases so far of COVID-19 tied just to the Tokyo Olympics, and Southeast Asia is continuing to reel from a wave of infections. Singapore has just reported cases at an 11-month high. You can see the FTSE Straits Times of Singapore down by 0.9%. The same story is the case when we look at our own local bourse sinking to 6,600 levels. We hadn't seen this for several weeks now. We're down by a hefty 1.4%. Now I'll take out the 3-day chart for you so you can see that this beating began from last Friday after we had already reported the first local cases of the Delta variant, then some areas outside NCR were placed under strictest lockdown. Stocks had already fallen. Of course, the DOH had already said 16 new Delta variant cases detected in the Philippines, including 11 classified as local cases. Now we are at 6,500 levels, from the breaking 7,000 just a few weeks ago. Let's take a look at which ones are actually dragging down the index and the worst sold off, or at least the cyclicals yet again. Wait a second, the ICTSI, the worst performer hit, together with Bloomberry, and those are two ROTATIONAL stocks. ICTSI down a hefty 5.4%. Bloomberry as well will be checking in with our analysts on what is going on here. Nevertheless, everyone is in the green save for two, San Miguel and SM Investments Corporation. Let's take a quick peek at MPIC, which is also down by 2.4% this morning to 3 pesos and 69 centavos. This is, they have just also announced that they will be restructuring their logistics business to be focusing a little on a certain part of the logistics supply chain. So this from the president and CEO Joey Lim, telling the Philippine Star they are studying whether to just focus on warehouse logistics or the last mile components. And very interestingly, he also said that the company is looking at different kinds of warehousing logistics and interested in acquiring existing logistics players to strengthen the logistics group. Now, here to chat with us about what is going on this morning and how to tread the rest of the week, we have with us Chris MANGUN of AAA Equities. Good morning, Chris, and welcome to the broadcast.
Good morning, Danny. Thanks for having me.
Chris, what is going on here? 6,500 levels, quite a hefty slide. And we had already reported that Delta variant, that the bourse had already suffered, so much on Friday. What is going on? Why is it sliding into Monday? Are these, offshore concerns spilling in as well? Is this still linked to the Delta variant?
Yeah, well, Friday sell-off looks like it was just the beginning. We're seeing more of that panic selling today. The market as a whole is already down substantially, and most are saying it's because of this Delta variant. But the reality is, I think investors are taking it more cautious because of the possibility that we can see a situation like what is happening in Indonesia right now. So this pandemic has just proven how unpredictable it can be. We're still in this nightmare, and it seems like countries are playing musical chairs, and eventually it's all gonna. Eventually we're all gonna get these huge surges. So that's what investors are concerned of. The government's really still trying to play catch up with the pandemic, despite how long it's been. But that's just true across the board for countries all over the world. Now they say that there's 16 cases so far, but not every single test goes through genome sequencing. So we really can't say what the situation is, but investors are obviously taking a more cautious approach. Now, the PSEI has some support at 6,600, but if it fails to hold that, we could see it go lower.
All right. So that was actually my next question. How to price in the Delta variant? Is this going to be levels that that we're going to go back to the 2020 levels? Is this still better than we were last year, especially since we're still under GCV, at least in the metro? Or is there a risk here that we might be breaking? You mentioned 66 or 65 already. Where is it going to go and how far?
Well, this morning I think we're just seeing temporary shock, and the reason why prices are down so much is not because of the massive selling pressure. So if you look at the trading volumes right now, they're pretty average. It's the lack of buyers that are really that is the culprit for these low prices. Buyers are not willing to come in unless it's at a massive discount because of the risks. And I think this is temporary. I think we're going to see it bounce back before the end of the session. I'm hoping that we can, even though it's at 6,560 right now, I'm hoping that it can hold that 6,600 level for the week. Because honestly, it's fear. It's fear, and rational minds will prevail. This Delta variant is a very dangerous situation because of the fact that that some vaccines don't bring this variant into under control. So that's why yeah, investors are going to take it cautious, but as on the other side of it, it also presents a good buying opportunity at these low prices.
Okay, so as you mentioned, hopefully just a temporary shock, but that might be going back up to 6,600 once all of this information is digested. Chris, can you just I don't know if you have any idea why the two ROTATIONAL stocks are the biggest hit here. What's going on? Why ICTSI down by 5.4% and Bloomberry as well? Any insight into which ones are being sold off here and why these two stocks in particular?
Well, yeah, okay. These are two very different situations. ICTSI obviously has been one of the best performing PSEI issues so far this year. It's been consistently hitting a new all-time high in the last, I think, 10 weeks, and mainly it's because of the strength of the logistics sector. Imports and exports have picked up significantly. It was the main issue for the reopening, but because it was at all-time high levels, that means you've got a lot of investors into it. And today, because of the panic selling, there's no buyers. They're selling it down, and that's just to be expected. Now, with Bloom, on the other hand, um, the gaming industry is just suffering in its worst suffering sectors, and will continue to suffer as long as this pandemic ravages on. So there is a possibility that in August, when they rebalance the index, that it may be taken out in favor of other issues that fit the criteria, and that's why Bloom continues to decline.
Okay, so just a reversal. Chris, so which ones you mentioned that it might be time for swooping in and bargain hunting right now? If these prices continue to be depressed, which ones are you looking at? Which sectors, which stocks in particular, should we be watching out for and swooping in to buy?
Well, with uncertainty like what we're seeing right now, over the last year and a half, we've seen strength in the because diversity and investors would like to keep it safe. So we may see more money, but that's what I'd be doing right now because of the uncertainty. Another
Okay, it seems that the connection is quite choppy. You can see, as I mentioned, the local bourse sliding all the way down to 65.30 and 25 dot 25. That's a very low level compared to what we have been seeing, and we will be taking stock of how the movements in the markets will be progressing throughout the day. Meanwhile, let's check in on other headlines. Repeat, keeping our eyes on the SEC's warning against more unlicensed investment schemes in the country. Now, in two separate advisories, the Commission flagged the investment schemes of AsiaWorks Digital Marketing Services and 24/7 Stock Trade FX. AsiaWorks is said to be founded and led by Ivan Henry Prieto Enrijo, which promises a triple your money investment scheme. The SEC says that AsiaWorks is not registered as a corporation but has been issued a certificate of business name registration by the DTI. Meanwhile, 24/7 Stock Trade FX is supposedly an Australia based company which is soliciting investments through brokers that appear to be using fraudulent identities. The SEC has issued 8 advisories against unlicensed investment schemes within this month alone, while a total of 55 advisories have been published so far this year. Now, Small Business Corp is reminding small enterprises that they can still apply for interest-free and collateral-free government loans to restart their operations. So far, SB Corp has approved 31,700 MSME loan applications amounting to about 4.8 billion pesos in value. Now, it said applications can be processed online by creating an account at www.bayanihancares.ph. Now, depending on the pre-pandemic sales and assets, qualified applicants can apply for loans ranging from 10,000 pesos to 5 million pesos. And that's a first look into the business day. Today is Monday, July 19, 2021. Cash Business World Live for the market closes at 3:15 p.m. today. I'm Danny Laurel. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.